Hello and thanks for joining us on the news on NTA International. I am Dennis Adigunloye. My sign language interpreter is Taiwo Ozumma. The headlines. Muslims and Christians commence spiritual exercise worldwide with a call on faithful to imbibe the spirit of fasting. UK economy stabilises as inflation falls to 3%, offering hope to households grappling with pressures of high living costs. A fresh wave of optimism emerges for Nigerian students eyeing overseas studies as Nigeria and UNESCO sign MOU to advance tertiary education. President Bola Tinubu has signed the Electoral Act 2026 into law. The short ceremony was at the State House this Thursday evening. The leadership of the National Assembly, led by the President of the Senate, Godswill Akpabio, and Speaker of the House of Representatives, Tajuddin Abbas, presented the final amendments of the Electoral Act 2022 for the presidential approval.
I followed keenly what you are doing. What is crucial is the fact that you manage the process to the extent there will be no confusion, no disenfranchisement of Nigerians, and that we are all going to see democracy flourish. It is time that we have confidence in our system. No matter how good a system is, it's managed by the people, promoted by the people, and the result is finalized by the people.
Well, a lot of provisions in the amended act would definitely make Nigerians very happy. We did a very thorough job, very painstaking. We took cognizance of the peculiarities of the country. We did not allow too much outside interference, and we're very patriotic in our submissions. And at the end, we believe strongly that what the President has just assented into Act of Parliament will make for a better election in the future, and will also lead to prosperity, and will also lead to transparency of the electoral process. At the end, Nigerians will benefit a lot from future elections. Every vote will now count.
Political turbulence is gripping Bulgaria once again as the Balkan nation prepares for its 8th election in 5 years, following the anti-corruption protest that toppled the government. Leaders have called for a snap parliamentary vote, deepening uncertainty in a country struggling with instability, public anger, and reforms. Similarly, Sara Duterte has officially declared her intention to run for president in 2028, igniting early political tensions in the Philippines. Adaobi Obiechina reports.
Acting President Elena Lutova has announced elections for April 19, 2026, appointing Central Bank official Andrei Gurov to lead an interim government tasked with ensuring transparent, fair and well-organized parliamentary polls. His caretaker cabinet now awaits swearing in by lawmakers. The Conservative Green Party previously led the coalition government, but protests erupted over its 2026 draft budget. Criticized as concealing corruption, former President Rumen Radev resigned last month amid speculations he may re-enter frontline politics. As Bulgaria navigates economic change and persistent corruption concerns, the April vote could reshape its fractured political landscape. Voters now face another pivotal movement in determining whether stability and reform can finally take hold.
I offer my life, my strength, and my future in the service of our nation.
Meanwhile, the The Vice President of the Philippines, Sara Duterte, while speaking in Mandaluyong City, positioned her candidacy as an act of accountability and sacrifice. She expressed regret for supporting Ferdinand Marcos Jr. in 2022, allying corruption and betrayal within their former alliance that secured a landscape electoral victory. Her announcement comes days before plenary hearing at the International Crime Court, where her father, Rodrigo Duterte, faces crimes against humanity charges. The timing intensifies political drama ahead of the Philippines' constitutionally mandated single 6-year presidential term. With sharp criticism and an appeal for forgiveness, Duterte framed her bids as a mission of national renewal. As political lines hardens, her 2028 campaign promises to reshape alliance and redefine the country's leadership debates. Adobe Obiechina, NTA News.
Prices in the United Kingdom rose more slowly in January, offering hope to households grappling with the pressures of high living costs. New official figures show inflation cooling to 3%, raising expectations that interest rates could soon be cut to support Britain's struggling economy and consumers. Here again is Adaobi Obiechina with details.
According to the Office of National Statistics, inflation fell from 3.4% in December to 3.0% in January, helped largely by lower petrol prices. The data supports earlier signal from the Bank of England that price pressures are easing. The bank recently kept interest rates unchanged at 3.7%, but hinted that cuts may come soon. Prime Minister Keir Starmer and Finance Minister Rachel Reeves says government budget decisions are helping to bring inflation under control despite sluggish economic growth.
You may have seen this morning that inflation has come down again, now to 3%, and it's scheduled to come down further. That will affect all of you, because that's not just a statistic, that is how much it costs to do things when you're in the supermarket, when you're filling up with petrol. All of these things are affected by inflation, and as we're bringing it down, it eases the burden on people.
And thank him. Can you all help me thank him for this £14 billion of investment?
Although inflation is low, Britain's economy remains weak, with rising unemployment and slower growth forecasts. If prices continue to stabilize, the Bank of England may lower interest rates, providing some financial relief for families and businesses. Adobe Obiechina, NTA News.
Now, civil society organizations have been tasked with the responsibility of rallying around governments of member states of ECOWAS to push for enforcement of judgments of the ECOWAS Court of Justice. This was part of resolutions reached at the end of the bilateral meeting in Abuja. Judiciary correspondent Austin Anyebe reports.
The 2 days meeting brought together legal practitioners and members of the civil society organizations. Discussions centered on frustration of non-enforcement of ECOWAS court judgments, which they say erode the credibility of the community court.
Beauty Ubobie Uzezi, whereby she had come to this court and she got a judgment that she was supposed to be, apart from the money judgment, the man who raped her, that is in the Nigerian Air Force, is still there, is still being promoted through the ranks. Meanwhile, this lady was raped at the age of 19 by this officer, and she's over 35. No closure, no judgment has been enforced. What did they say? Prosecute this man. If the Attorney General of Federation has taken one step to actually find a way to prosecute this man, that girl will feel that she has gotten a partial closure. And
after the 2-day deliberations, it was agreed that judges do not enforce judgments of courts, but governments of member states. Hence, the civil society organizations must mobilize for enforcement.
Agreements are binding on parties to the agreement. So all 12 ECOWAS member states who signed up to the documents of ECOWAS, the treaties and other agreements of ECOWAS, and to the treaty establishing this court, are under binding obligation, international obligation, to comply with the decisions of the ECOWAS court.
ECOWAS Court of Justice maintains that it will continue to talk to the leaders of political organs of the regional body to comply with decisions of court.
Actually appealing to the political organs and authority of these member states to show strong will and to ensure that enforcements of judgments of the court are taken seriously. If you look at the Federal Republic of Nigeria, whether we like it or not, Nigeria is a pillar in ECOWAS. Nigeria is a leader in ECOWAS, and I'm sure that if the federal government of Nigeria will spearhead this process, all other member states will follow suit.
Similar meetings are expected to take place in other member states of ECOWAS. In Abuja, Austin Anyebe, NT News.
A fresh wave of optimism has emerged for Nigerian students eyeing overseas studies as Nigeria and UNESCO REF have signed a memorandum of understanding with a UK-based platform transforming higher education. Elizabeth Omori reports that the move aligns with the Renewed Hope agenda to ensure Nigerian youths have no constraints acquiring education anywhere in the world.
Financial constraints, economists say, hinder educational access. These constraints force students to limit their focus and abandon studies. In Nigeria, NELFund has been tackling these challenges through interest-free and legal-backed education loans to qualified students in public tertiary institutions. To complement this mandate, an agreement has been signed with UNESCO REF and partners to support Nigerian students willing to study abroad financially.
The Memorandum of Understanding under our Strategic Intervention Program Alpha, Category 2 and Category 15, represents a deliberate pathway to transform ambition into opportunity and opportunity into achievement.
The strategic waivers comprise priority processing of applications to accelerate admissions outcomes.
This move, President, Police Officers' Wives Association says, simplifies access to education.
This MOU embodies transparency, accountability, and innovation. It is a partnership that gives confidence to parents.
The police secondary school is expected to host the pilot phase. Elizabeth Omori, NT News.
Nigeria is strengthening its presence in global climate diplomacy as key negotiators and stakeholders gathered in Abuja for a specialized training and debrief on the outcomes of the 30th Conference of the Parties, COP30. Organized by the National Council on Climate Change in partnership with Perspectives Climate Research and Power Shift of Africa under the Nigeria-UK Pact, the project is focused on reviewing COP30 outcomes and negotiation dynamics for Nigeria's climate strategy. Details with Charles Alpha.
At the previous Conference of Parties under the United Nations Framework Convention on Climate Change COP30, Nigeria played a strategic role within African and Global South bloc in pushing back against language that called for an outright phase-out of fossil fuels. Nigerian negotiators argued for a more balanced formulation that recognizes different national circumstances. The eventual adjustment of the text to reflect flexibility for developing economies was widely seen as a diplomatic win, reinforcing Nigeria's growing influence as both a coalition builder and defender of Africa's energy interests. Building on that momentum, the National Council on Climate Change has convened a 4-day negotiators training and COP30 debrief in Abuja to consolidate lessons and shape Nigeria's strategic position ahead of the 2026 negotiation cycle.
So this training is therefore a strategic investment in Nigeria's diplomatic readiness and our global positioning. It's part of a broader effort to strengthen our capacity to shape the outcomes, the influence, the global frameworks, and secure opportunities that would advance our national development.
And the project wants to ensure that those people who represent Nigeria in the next COP actually speak with one voice, have a clear strategy, know who the allies are.
We need to shift away from being the silent, ignored partner to be an active partner because we have leverage.
We have transition minerals on the continent, we have the viable climate on the continent, and also we have Nigeria as a big brother.
The 4-day event is organized by the Council and supported by the UK Pact, with technical delivery by Perspectives Climate Research in collaboration with Power Shift Africa. Charles Alpha, NTA News.
This is the news on N. Welcome back. Talking security now. In a renewed effort to place victims of terrorism at the center of Nigeria's counter-terrorism strategy, the National Counter-Terrorism Center, Office of the National Security Advisor, is partnering with Spain to enhance support systems for victims of terrorism. This is to facilitate rehabilitation and reintegration.
Beyond silencing the guns and curbing violent extremism, Nigeria's counter-terrorism effort is also focused on healing the wounds and pains left behind. The goal is not only to defeat terror networks, but also to provide care, protection, and reintegration pathways for those directly affected by attacks. This collaboration aims to strengthen national resilience, prevent violent extremism, and institutionalize comprehensive support frameworks in line with global best practices.
Victims of terrorism deserve more than sympathy. They deserve structured support, justice, dignity, and opportunities for healing and reintegration. This workshop is therefore convened to strengthen our collective response to the needs of terrorism through coordinated, trauma-informed, and victim-centered approaches.
Victims must be at the center of our global strategy in the fight against terrorism, because it's our duty to provide them with assistance and protection. Suffering a terrorist attack leaves profound scars.
Victims and survivors can also be active agents of change. Their leadership, resilience, and courage guide us, reminding us that true recovery requires partnership.
The workshop underscores Nigeria's commitment to ensuring that as counter-terrorism operations intensify, the voices and needs of victims remain central, reinforcing the message that security efforts must go hand in hand with compassion and long-term support.
Meanwhile, the National Defense College is leading strategic-level discussions on U.S. strategic repositioning and implications for multilateral cooperation, with a view to contributing effectively to its international engagements. The Commandant's National Defense College, Rear Admiral Abdullahi Ahmed, affirmed this at a strategic roundtable at the college in Abuja. Defense correspondent Olajide Bello reports.
Nigeria's strategic interest and security partnerships, climate security nexus, climate governance, multilateral cooperation and strategic influence, security cooperation and burden sharing risk mitigation scenarios and opportunities mapping were top on the discourse at this convergence. Multilateral cooperation has been hollowed out as the U.S. shifts from funding global bodies like the WHO towards transactional bilateral deals, forcing global communities to navigate a fragmented system where coordinated responses to health crises and regional stability are undermined.
For us in Nigeria, it's very key to us because United States of America has a huge cooperation with us, especially on the security and military environment and even educational environment. So we should be consigned.
So this issue affects our countries directly, and plus the security challenges, and also a way we have to look for a way to work to align, with these our partners, and how to source for alternative funding.
Ultimately, the success of this strategic repositioning hinges on Nigeria's ability to transform its foreign policy from a reactive to a proactive and anticipatory stance. Olajide Bello, NTA News.
It is no longer business as usual. This is coming from the House of Representatives Ad Hoc Committee on Power Reforms and Expenditure, reiterating that the era of shortchanging the federal government is over, with an over 40% stake in the privatization of the power sector. National Assembly correspondent Mohammed Rabiu Ali reports that this was during an oversight visit to the Abuja Electricity Distribution Company by the committee. We'll bring details of this in our subsequent bulletins. Let's talk religious affairs. Christians today converged on churches to celebrate Ash Wednesday, marking the beginning of the 40 days Lenten season, which leads to Easter. Omenka Marachukwu, who visited some churches in Abuja, reports that the Lenten season coincides with the Ramadan fast.
To bless with the abundance of His grace these ashes which we will put on our heads in penitence.
Ash Wednesday marks the start of the 40-day Lenten season, a period of spiritual rejuvenation for Christians leading up to Easter. On this day, Christians gather in churches and ashes are applied to the foreheads of the faithful. These ashes, made from the last year's Palm Sunday fronds, symbolizes repentance, as the priest says. Remember, man is dust, and unto dust you shall return.
So we must intensify that prayer within these 40 days and then carry it on all through the remaining part of the year.
We have all come together to know that from dust we are, and from dust we shall return.
It's a time set aside by the church. You need wisdom to ensure that we come closer to God and then do His biddings.
Overall, Ash Wednesday is a significant day in the Christian calendar. This year's Ash Wednesday coincides with Ramadan. Clergymen sees this coincidence as an opportunity for lessons in unity.
So unity, brotherhood, understanding of one another, tolerating one's religion and one's differences. These are the things that are expected among Christians and Muslims and all other religions in Nigeria.
And the Lord is saying to us, with Lent and Ramadan coming together, there will be peace in Nigeria. There will be progress in Nigeria. There will be joy in Nigeria.
As the faithful embark on this spiritual exercise, it is believed that national interest should be paramount in building a stronger nation. In Abuja, Omenka Marachukwu, NTA News.
Meanwhile, President Bola Tinubu has congratulated the Christian and Muslim faithful on the solemn occasions of this year's Lent and Ramadan. He said for Lent and Ramadan to begin on the same day is not a common occurrence, and it reminds the nation that as a people of faith, Nigerians share a lot in common and are one people under God. Tinubu says for Christians, the Lenten season is a time for fasting, abstinence and penitence, following Jesus Christ's example in the wilderness before his crucifixion, which brought salvation to mankind. And for Muslims, the president says Ramadan is a hallowed season that reflects total submission to God Almighty and his command of sacrifice, devotion, service, communal love, and giving. It marks one of the 5 pillars of Islam. Beyond the obligatory fasting, Ramadan calls for deep spiritual reflection in obedience to Islam's injunctions. As a nation and as a people, the president calls on Nigerians to ensure good neighborliness, peace, unity, stability, and to pray for the progress and security of the nation. In continuation of exemplifying love and kindness to the less privileged in society, the First Lady's latest donation of food items to the Abuja National Mosque Muslim community as support for the Ramadan fast has attracted additional donations from the FCT minister and other philanthropists. Abdullah Gia reports on the distribution by the National Mosque Distribution Committee, led by its chairman, Ustaz Abubakar Siddiq.
It is the beginning of this year's Ramadan, a time of increased acts of charity that attracts great rewards from Allah. As such, the First Lady's bags of rice and spaghetti, in addition to other items, is coming at a time families and individuals are requiring them. Ustaz Abubakar Siddiq's supervision as chairman of the Abuja National Mosque Distribution Committee has constantly ensured fair distribution of the items.
Her Excellency felt that we should have the other items. We have 100 bags of rice and 100 cartons of spaghetti. That is aside what she has provided earlier. And of course the FCT Minister, Yonsem Wuke, has also given 100 bags of 25 kg rice. The Defense and Police Women's Association also has given us 20 bags of 50 kg rice.
The number of beneficiaries this time was expanded. Both managers and beneficiaries of the items expressed gratitude to the First Lady and other benefactors while asking Allah to reward them for their kindness and support that lifts the less privileged. In Abuja, Abdullah Hajia, NTA News.
And that concludes the news on NTA International at this time. Many thanks for watching. I am Dennis Adigunloye. My sign language interpreter has been Taiwo Uzoma.